So I'm back for the second one of these. The first one I did was basically cutting half the roster of the whole Mortal Kombat franchise from the perspective of if there was an MK12 that would bring back everyone and then get rid of half of them. This time I'm doing it from the perspective of rebooting. A full-on hard reboot that's going to start the entire MK universe over from scratch. And with that idea in mind, we're going to try and cut half the roster, because last time it was easier because you could say, well, Shao Kahn, for example, his role is done. You know, we don't need to bring him back. His story has been told. But in this universe, Shao Kahn's story has not happened at all yet. So we need to be mindful of what's going to happen. And this isn't just from the perspective of MK12 as a hard reboot, who's going to be in that game. No. This is what characters will show up in this continuity at all. So if I were to, say, move a character into the Erase Forever one, they would never show up in this continuity, ever. They will never be a part of it. And that's what makes it even harder. Because I was able to cut, like, Sindel last time. I am not cutting Sindel this time. She has to stay. She needs to have her story told properly. Now, obviously, the idea for this reboot would be kind of just redoing the story over again. And that is, I think, where NetherRealm was really written themselves into a corner with the ending of MK11. Because it's going to be another reboot. What are you going to do? Tell the same story of the original trilogy again? That would be utterly ridiculous. You can't do that. You can't just retell the same story again. But what can you really do? So obviously I'm starting off with the characters that, in addition to Sindel and my girl, Melina, it's just the characters that kind of have to be there. You know, basically the MK1 roster. Where's my boy Raiden? It's the MK1 roster. Aside from Kano, because Kano is not that important, as I discussed last time. There is room to remove Kano entirely. Much as I like the dude, you don't necessarily need him. Hell, you could even have it be that Sony's pursuing Suhao or Mavado instead. Or hell, going off the MK 2011 version where she's not going after Kano at all to reach the island. She's there to find Jax. I need to pick some characters who are shit and I don't want to see come back. So there's that one, that one, and that one. Some underdeveloped characters or meme characters who we're never going to get any real focus anyway. They can go. I would say I will cut Triborg, keep Sector, but once he's gone through a game or two, he upgrades himself into the Triborg. It's Sector, but he gains the powers of the other Cyber Ninjas. Or alternatively, bodies were constructed for the Cyber Ninjas, well, those who didn't become Cyber Ninjas, like Sub-Zero, and he basically just got all the data from that. He is the Cyber Sub-Zero. He is the Cyber Cyrax or Smoke or whoever else might not be cyberized. We need Baraka as representative of the Tarkatans. Once again, Havoc, Hotaru and Darius, despite not being all that great characters, they get a free ride because of what they represent. We will... See, Onaga's the kind of character where he could just be left out forever but still be mentioned. That's fine. With no Kronika, there's no Garrus. Keep Shinnok around. I'm looking at this mainly from the perspective of who would come back for the roster. Because in theory, I could cut Cetrion and say she's only appears in like cutscenes as an Elder God and like doesn't intervene. They can go. And again, like you have Dagon. Originally I said, well, he can go because his story's been told. Here though, his story has not been told. Therefore, I kind of need to keep this dude around because of what you can do with him. Because I do like the idea of Armageddon still happening. I kind of imagine this thing could go with basically the same overarching plot as the original timeline and then do a time skip. Or maybe spread things out a bit. So, you know, maybe after the original story is told, Johnny and Sonya get together, Cassie's born, but she's still a kid by the time of Shinnok stuff. But then the whole thing is stretched out further. So by the time of like Deadly Lightnings and Deception, she's like 19 and can take part in the fighting. I'm still tempted to just get rid of Jackie forever, but I'll plop her down here for now. Kai and Fujin really should come back. They were basically like the beginning of where the whole successor type characters came from, with them in MK4. Fujin was supposed to take Raiden's place as a protector of Earthrealm when he ascended to Elder God. Kai was Liu Kang's apprentice, and Liu Kang died in the very next game, so it was clearly set up that they just never really followed up on, and that's kind of where I'm going to go with the Kai and Fujin wasted potential episode. Yeah, because they're going to share one. He can go... Don't really need Tremor, honestly. I'm going to keep Blaze and Taven and Dagon for their story. Honestly, I don't think you really need the Red Dragon at all. Because they never really contributed anything. They were set up for them to actually have some real relevance when Goro teams up with Dagon to capture Kenshi. But then, you know, flash forward from the end of the comics to the start of the game, and that's it. Kenshi's just back, and there's no explanation. I suspect it was like the that was like the Love Hina anime, where there was one extra episode after the climax because the plan was to have the series be like twice as long, but they ran out of money. And I'm guessing the MKX comics just weren't selling that well, so they decided to cut their losses and end it there after the first arc of the 11 comics was done, and then they were starting up the next thing with issue 12. I'm guessing that's what happened. I have no proof. I'd love it if someone involved with the comic could tell me. That's never going to happen because I think anyone who works at NetherRealm probably hates me. Unless they're like one like the artist who's like, yeah, you know, I agree with this stuff, but I have no power to fix it. So there are quite a few characters that you look at and think, well, they're kind of vital to the series. They have to come back, but that's where the pruning has to happen. Did I put Goro in there? No, here he is. Because that's the thing, as the champion and the original representative of his race, he has to stick around. Whereas like Kintaro and Shiva don't. Then you have to pick one to get rid of. Do you lose the representation of the Tigra or of the female side of the race? I mean, in theory, you could drop both of them and introduce a new female Tigra. Then you might have the issue that some people might think that all the female Shokan are Tigra, because there are a lot of people who will get into the MK series through the newer games and just never go back and look into the old ones, do any research to find out what the story was, and just blindly accept what the newer games tell them, despite how bullshit it is. Did I put Reptile? It is Reptile. Surprised it took me so long to put Reptile in. Maybe. Oh, Katana. What? Why'd I leave Katana out? There's quite a few more maybes this time around. Tanya's not that interesting a character overall, but I don't know, like, because again, I like what they did with her and Melina, but that could really just be with anyone. Hell, if you wanted, she could get with Kung Lao. Really doesn't matter who it is, it just has to be someone. It could even be Scarlet, you know? And if you're going to choose one of those two to stick around and like join up with Melina and be on the roster, the playable roster, you want the one with the more unique moveset, and that has to be Scarlet, because Tanya's really got nothing going for her. Like, she has some fireballs and like bladed tonfas, and that's and she has a Naginata, all of which have been used by other characters aside from the bladed tonfas. Jax just had normal ones. Keep Borai Cho around. Frost and Jade and Cabal are very likely, but I can't say for sure. I actually quite like Shujinko, honestly. I don't know why people hate him so much. Get rid of that asshole. So I'd have to keep Cyrax or Smoke. And the thing is, as far as like the human designs go, Cyrax is by far the more interesting because he's this like South African guy, I think he's South African, and he's got the dreadlocks and stuff like that, and he has bombs, which are a bit more unique than just Smoke's weird teleport shit. But because they have basically the same story of being forced into the Cyber Initiative, you only really need one of them, and it's hard to say which one you should keep. Damn. Because I'm at that point now where I need to start pruning. Some of these guys have to go. I'll put them in here for now. Leaves us with these three. I like Ashra's story, but she can go. Then you got Night Wolf and Striker, and again, I do like them, but we'll see. So as of right now, I've got practically twice as many keep as lose, and so that needs to change? I mean, one option I could go for is just cut Cassie and the other Kombat kids aside from Jin, because he's supposed to be older anyway, and as a cousin of Lau rather than being like his son or something. Yeah, his cousin, not nephew, MK11. He's his cousin. Cousin. They say this multiple times in MKX. Cousin, not nephew. People wonder why I hate NetherRealm Studios writing. They wonder why. They think it's fine to just... And the ones who don't, they think it's fine to just randomly change things about the characters. Shut the fuck up. So, who are we going to get rid of? Well, again, this is the thing is, because it is a retell of the story, you can change certain details. Like how you could have Melina's story about finding acceptance in a relationship with another character. You could pick Scarlet for that. You could pick Serena, Kung Lao. You don't really need Tanya. Likewise, you don't really need the Centaurs to represent Khan's growing dissatisfaction with the Shao Kahn as enforcers. You could bring in these dudes. You could bring in the Oni, right? And that sounds more interesting. You could bring in the Oni. You could bring in maybe this dude. Probably not. But the Oni would be a decent alternative. Or the vampires. You know, he complains about the big dumb muscle heads and how shit they are. Fuck it, bring in the more agile and versatile vampire people, you know? That could even tie into the creation of Scarlet. Maybe Scarlet is created through the use of these vampire people. So we'll go with that. That means we need to keep an Oni around because we want to keep at least one representing the race. And again, the question is who's more interested in terms of design and gameplay. In terms of gameplay, Draman is more going for him because he's not just like a big dumb muscle man, but at the same time his design is just like a skinned man. I mean, there is a reason why they just took his model, retextured it, took the mask off and had the eye pop out to make meat. Like, look, you can see how the shoulder blades pop out, the collarbones rather pop out the same way. And if you look at the hip bones, it's even more obvious, and that's why Draman's mask never comes off in Armageddon. Because they used his model for meat, and if you could see his face, it'd be too obvious. I don't know why they didn't just go with the bloody skeleton. Onaga can remain as a backstory character. Khan killed him. He is gone. Maybe Khan has his soul, which you could use to justify some of the dragon traits. Or his soul could be inside Ermac. But either way, he's gone. His soul is imprisoned somewhere, so that he can never come back and challenge Khan for the throne. He's mentioned in the backstory. You can still have his army show up, but he doesn't need to come back. Iconic as he is, I don't think we need to keep Kano around. Sony can just have another reason to be on the island. She's pursuing someone. Maybe Jax has been captured. Or maybe she's just heard rumours about this Mortal Kombat thing she's going to investigate. Oh, Frost. Because I really want to delve into Frost, particularly to go with that story that was in the original backstory for the two brothers, that they had a sister. Something's loading. I need to check, is that OBS? Still recording. Good. Because fans theorise that Frost was the sister left behind in America that was mentioned in MK mythologies and the backstory in that. So I'd like to see them do something with that. It don't have to be Frost. They could just introduce a separate character for that. But it's something to do with her rather than the fuck all they've done so far. We've got special forces. We don't really need a cop. Do we keep female Chameleon around? Nah. Because she is just a copycat character. In terms of gameplay style, it would probably be more interesting to introduce the Saurian matriarch that we see in Reptile's MKX ending. Bring her in as a female Saurian, give her make it that she is more in line with Deadly Alliance Reptile, and give her like moves involving the tail and stuff like that. That would be sick. In fact, that could actually be where you introduce like the more reptilian form of Reptile. He could start off like the classic ninja, and then he meets the matriarch, and then he reverts to his true form, which is the Saurian. Yeah, that'd be cool. I'm still not sure about the fucking Oni, because one's boring from a gameplay standpoint, one's boring from a design standpoint. Now, they could overhaul Draman's design, they could overhaul Moloch's moveset. I have to put Draman in, because Moloch is just nothing. Even though pretty much every time we see the Oni, aside from the MKX mobile game version, like the ones we see in the crypts in MK11 are just based on Moloch, but smaller. Like they look like the Moloch in Deception's Conquest mode, where he's like man-sized, and you're like, what the fuck happened to you? What happened to your Moloch? Like, Shujinko finds him and he's like slimmed down. It's like going from Batman Christian Bale to the Machinist Christian Bale, you know? It's fucking weird. No, it's like, what's her name? Is it Sherry the Mouse from Ultima? Where in like one of the Game Boy games, she's like a giant freakazoid, man-sized rat person. That's basically what Moloch was like in Deception's Conquest Mode. And I spent too much time talking about Moloch in Deception's Conquest Mode, so I'm going to stop. Purple Rain. Haha, funny joke. It is random. He has to go. You don't fucking do anything. I mean, okay, I'll throw you a bone. In this reimagined version of the MK canon, Rain is around. He is the half-brother of Taven, and he's the one who's going on the quest. There's no being put to sleep thing. Instead, the Vision of Armageddon comes later, around the time of MK1. Rain, by this point, is already in Shao Kahn's service. Taven is maybe imprisoned, and Rain discovers his true heritage. Now he's on this quest to obtain the prize, or whatever it is. Okay, so he's taken Dagon's place in this version. Are you happy now? Rain stands. Stan is a thing, which is fitting because I understand that the term Stan comes from the Eminem song, which had Rain in the background. So it makes sense in a weird way to think about it in a really weird way that shouldn't matter. Now, which of the Cyber Ninjas is going to stick around? Who will be the one character that is against the Cyber Initiative and is forced into it? Because while you could have Cyrax be Sub-Zero's best friend in this continuity, I don't think it really works as well as it does with Smoke. But of course, Cyrax is just more interesting overall. We don't necessarily need the best friend angle. We can still have the corrupted brother. Oh, here's one. I've got it. Frost in this version can be Sub-Zero's younger sister. He's very protective of her since his brother is now dead. The two try to flee the Lin Kuei together. Frost is captured. She is cyberized. But she's like this new version. See, Sector, after being cyberized, is now a machine. He sees way more efficient ways because the cybers were designed by humans. And he's like, well, I see much more efficient ways to do the cyberization thing. And so he kills the Grandmaster, takes over, and Frost is the first test subject in his new cyberization process. And that's where Frost comes in, as this type of design. It's a weird idea, but it's way better than what we were given in MK11, where she's just like, notice me, senpai, Sub-Zero senpai, and also Raiden senpai, because I care about your... You see what I mean? It's dumb. I hate it. Representative of a whole race, we can keep him around. We can cut Shujinko, honestly. Yeah, what we can do instead is we could make it that Taven and Rain are given this quest around the same time. They don't know what the quest is, and that's kind of where deception comes in. Like, Damashi don't have to be tied to Onaga in this version, but he could be that someone is manipulating Taven. What if, in this version, Shinnok is Damashi, and he's trying to get Taven, in place of Shujinko, to gather the Kamidogu secretly to revive him, and Taven thinks, well, oh, this is a quest from the Elder Gods. Clearly, this is what I'm supposed to do. Hell yeah. I like Nightwolf, but he doesn't really add anything to the story. I think Nightwolf has done more to help with the main narrative in Mortal Kombat Chronicles in his one appearance than he has in the whole canon series, because there he helps in the unbrainwashing of Sindel during MK3, which is vital to defeating Shao Kahn. Then you look at his role in the games and he's done fuck all, you know? Oh, he kicked Noob into a Solnado. Well done. Yeah, because Noob's a fucking jobber in the new timeline, so it's really not that big a deal. You know, the guy who once took down an Elder God is nothing. I'll get rid of Jackie, and honestly, I'll say that Jax can have another kid, but this new kid has to be something more distinct and unique. I'd even take his wife Vera showing up instead, you know, instead of being a major part of Jax's motivation, despite having never appeared in the games. I think there's more rambling in this because I am trying to justify who to keep and get rid of, and it's not as clean cut because, again, some of these characters will not have their stories told in this setting, and that's why some characters having to go is difficult. I think people just aren't as attached to Kintaro as they are to these two, and I think I know why that is, because Goro is the OG, he's the original, he's the badass champion of Mortal Kombat for centuries, and Shiva is this really tall, really muscular woman that stomps on people, and I think people can really appreciate that kind of character's inclusion. It means a lot to people to have a character like that. It's why people are so excited for Shiva to be added to MK11 as a DLC character, as leaks have suggested. I mean, they've got the character model, so she's likely to be added. Although it's weird that the leaks never mention Sector and Cyrax, despite the fact that they have character models and movesets in the game. That's kind of weird. Let's see. Okay, before I do these, I'm going to go through the characters I've already chosen to keep and see about getting rid of some of them. Okay, I will say Kai can go and Kung Jin can be Liu Kang's apprentice. We can keep the original idea from MK3 and 4 where Kung Lao fakes his death, or is presumed dead, and that could be where Liu Kang decides it's time to train Kung Jin. Jin's a bit older in this version. Liu Kang's like, I'm going to train Jin to be my successor. So we've got Jin probably around age 17 to 21, and he's being mentored by Liu Kang, and that's why he takes Kai's place from the original timeline. Unless you've got a replacement lined up, you can't just say, well, there'll be a replacement. You can't just say, well, I'm just going to cut these three, cut Hotaru and Darius and just introduce like new characters to do their roles in the story, because that makes it too easy. I could just go, yeah, get rid of him, get rid of Baraka, put in a new Tarkatan, get rid of like Kentaro, put in a new Tiger later. That's cheating, so it has to be this way. Because I do like Cassie in MK11. That's kind of what makes Jackie stand out so much, because we had the two boys, they stood out quite a bit, they were quite unique. Put these in here for now. They were quite unique in MKX. They had their own things going on. Cassie and Jackie weren't anything interesting, but then they made Cassie way better in MK11. But Jackie, they really didn't do anything with her. Like, she has all these kicks, but her footwear looks about as hard as whatever it is that Sombra from Overwatch wears, or those weird cyber crocs that Tracer wears. So I don't know how that's supposed to be as hardcore as punching someone with her gauntlets, but you know. I'm honestly tempted. I'm tempted to get rid of her, because you can do good stuff with her story, but I'll cut Blaze and say that Armageddon relates to something different, like a wellspring of power. In Armageddon's intro, when the tower first rises and there's just like a big flaming aura, energy beam coming out at the top. So it's not because Blaze is there, like getting swole. It's because it's just the power is there in the pyramid. Also, I theorise that Argus is a god of Earth, since he was never given an element of any kind, and since he builds a pyramid and buries it underground. I'm going to say he's an Earth god of Edenia. And that's the thing, is some of these characters just have like a cool design thing, like Kenshi. It's not that interesting in terms of gameplay, especially when you've already got Ermac with his psychic powers. And that's the thing, is you could say, well, okay, get rid of one of the TK guys, but you're either getting rid of the one with the cooler like aesthetic idea of the blind swordsman, or you're getting rid of the iconic Ermac, who you can do so much with in terms of the story, because of the whole Edenian souls inside him. It's a tough one, it really is. I'd like to see you guys do something like this, actually. I'd like to see some of you guys do this kind of challenge, or maybe let me know in the comments which characters you would cut and which ones you would keep if you were going to drop half the roster. Actually, I might do something like this for other fighting games like Tekken and Soul Calibur. Oh, that could be sick. I might do that, actually. I'll call it roster pruning or roster snap. I don't know. I'll figure something out. Because again, some of these aren't that interesting, but they represent something important to the MK setting that can be expanded upon later. God, this is so difficult. I like Cabal. I like what they did with him in 2011. They fucked him up in MK11, but he doesn't really contribute much to the series. One of the problems is you say, well, they don't contribute much, so cut them, because that's kind of NetherRealm's attitude. They don't contribute to the story, get rid of them. But then they can't contribute to the story. That's the paradox. The character can't contribute to the story because you're not letting them, because you're getting rid of them. Serena has to go. Fuck. God damn it. Okay, so let's look over what we've got. Sindel is very important to the plot of MK3, because a lot of this is basically going to be retelling the existing stories, but like remixing certain elements. Plus, Sindel's whole arc of redemption that I've laid out for her is really good. So you want to keep that. Keep the main hero. You keep the iconic ninjas. You keep our main man Johnny, who is like the shining star of this whole franchise at this point. Keep Sonya around. Keep the original Sub-Zero. You don't have to keep him around forever. He just needs to be around early on. You can probably like kill him off relatively early if you don't have anything else to do with him. I've always said that talk about Sub-Zero redeeming Bihan, but I never said that he has to. Just I would prefer that to happen. It's more that he should keep trying until the very end, when it becomes abundantly clear that he can't be saved, and then he should kill him. Right? There shouldn't be this whole thing of, fuck you, brother. You're not my brother anymore. Fuck you. It turns Sub-Zero into like a horrible person. Kung Lao, Jax, Melina. Because there's good you can do with them. Jax, honestly, he's not that interesting a character. I'm tempted to get rid of Jax. He's Punch Man, and that's not that interesting. I've heard that fuck off. I don't want to restart. I don't want to do this fucking Windows update. Fuck you. I don't know if that's showing up in the OBS thing, but God, it's pissing me off. Every hour it comes up and tells me. I don't want to. I like Jax, but I can't. I can't keep him around. Which means I have space to bring back Serena, Jade, or Striker. Because fun fact, my understanding is that Striker was supposed to be an MK1, but after they dropped Princess Kitsune from the roster, they realised they had no women, so they turned Striker into Sonya Blade. Then he was going to be Sonya's commanding officer. For whatever reason, they renamed him to Jackson Briggs, and eventually they used the name for a character in MK3, and ironically, it was a character people most hated for almost a decade. Like, poor fucker, right? And the poor sod, he finally gets his chance to be in the game and everyone's like, I hate this character, he's the worst. And it took the introduction of Su Hao and Movado for people to say, you know what, Striker wasn't that bad in retrospect. See, these each have their own things to bring to the table. I think Sonya should have a Special Forces partner, and Striker's a decent choice for that. Or it could be that Johnny Cage joins up with the SF early on, and he's her partner. Again, some of these characters could show up exclusively in cutscenes. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. There we go. So this is for cutscene only. I can put as many characters as I want in there on the condition that the numbers of characters to keep and the characters to erase are still equal. So I can't just go cutscene, 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 because, oh look, there's not enough characters here to match that. So it has to be equal. So Jax can stick around as Sonya's commanding officer. Serena can stick around as a supporting character. No Jade or Striker. Damn. If I were to put Jade and Striker in there, that means I need to cut one more character. Oh, actually, Collector can be a cutscene only and be in charge of the crypt. And that means I now get to pick a character from here to go back into the roster. Jax isn't interested in terms of gameplay, so he can just stay a story-only character. So it's one of these. That's the thing, it makes things a lot easier because some of these characters don't actually need to be playable. Like Serena doesn't need to be playable for her arc to play out. So I might just give myself way too much of a crutch with this. So I'm going to put... Well, I also need to put some characters in the erase forever if I'm going to keep doing this. So I need to be careful here. I'll cut Striker, since Jax is going to be in the cutscenes. I could leave it at that, but let's go back through the characters I'm going to keep, see if anyone else I can... Cetrion can be cutscene only. As an Elder God, she shouldn't be interfering anyway, and if she does, it just kind of makes her look absolutely pathetic. Though admittedly, they did always try to explain why she loses, because whoever you're playing as has some kind of like power boost. Which is something. It's better than what they did with Injustice 2, where Damien can just go toe-to-toe with Supergirl in a fist fight for no reason. You know, she can take him into space and fucking laser him through meteors, but he's fine. I put Jade back on the roster, I keep these characters here, and if I was forced to cut two of these characters and keep two of them around, I would cut Jax, and would I cut the Collector or Cetrion? I would probably cut Collector, because we don't really know anything about his race at all. One could argue that characterizing the Elder Gods, giving them actual established characters, is a bad idea. Because it's easier to imagine them all as these aloof assholes who don't care about what's going on if there's no actual character to them. Like, you look at Cetrion's personality and the kind of person she's supposed to be. I mean, yeah, she's working for Kronika, but really she is doing what she thinks is best. She is overall a good person, she's just misled. I mean, you see her talking to Sub-Zero and she's like, you know, forgive Bihan, and he's like, fuck you, buddy. And she's like, but bro, be compassionate, and he's like, no. Like, she's supposed to be a decent person, so when you look at how the Elder Gods act in all the other games, that is a bit of a problem. Cetrion's the kind of person who would probably give up her Elder God status to become a lesser god so she can actually get involved the same way Raiden does in a Deadly Alliance. But yeah, so I would say if I was to cut two characters from this cutscene only section entirely, it would be Jax and, yeah, the Collector. I'm only really keeping him around because he represents a race that could be expanded upon. You can say the same with Devora, but, you know, fuck her. And fuck her entire race. They all deserve to burn. Which you will be seeing in an upcoming Mortal Kombat Chronicles if you actually read that, which you should. But I would keep these two and get rid of those two. Nothing against Jax. I like Jax, but he doesn't really do anything unique. I need to check OBS again because it says loading. Still recording, good. Because I'm worrying about running out of disk space. Because I tried increasing the quality of video output for these, but it was like somewhat daft, like 700 megabytes for 1 minute. And I'm like, considering all I'm doing is just moving the mouse over some pictures, I'm just speaking, I'd rather you didn't. So that's it for this one. That is the characters I would keep, the ones I would erase forever from Mortal Kombat. Again, let me know if you like this, and I might do the same with other fighting games like Tekken, Soul Calibur, maybe Street Fighter, or, ooh, which of Sonic's woodland critter friends should be cut forever? I know a couple I would cut forever. See you next time, I guess. Maybe next time, because there might not be a next time. I need to make that clear. There might not be a next time. There might be. Depends what you guys think and if I feel like making one. As always, let me know. Check the links in the doobly-doo and watch more of my videos and subscribe and like and comment and all that good stuff. I'm sure the YouTubers call it good stuff. Come on, guys. Help me reach 50k. I need it.